The 10 Brothers Who Defied Fate, the Unbeatable Family of World War II. Spring 1945. Central Ukraine, Cherkasy Oblast. The earth, recently liberated from German occupation, was scorched, but fertile in one thing: loss. In the small, humble village of Brovaki, the solitary silhouette of a farmhouse stood resilient. Inside, Evdokia Danilovna Lysenko worked in silence. Her eyes, hardened by the Great Famine, Holodomor, and the subsequent invasion, were fixed on the dirt road leading west. Evdokia had raised 10 sons: Mikhail, Feodosi, Pyotr, Ivan, Andrei, Pavel, Vasily, Alexander, Nikolai, and Stepan. All had answered the call of the Red Army. 10 names, 10 lives thrown into the meat grinder of the Great Patriotic War. While Evdokia waited, the Soviet military world operated under an arithmetic of catastrophe. The General Staff in Moscow dealt with brutal statistics. The Soviet Union would lose over 25 million lives. Mortality among Ukrainian frontline combatants was especially high, with entire units annihilated in battles like Kyiv and the Kherson Pocket. Joseph Stalin himself, in his calculating coldness, treated the Soviet man as a renewable, disposable resource. Stalin's speech, harsh voice, excerpts from War Orders 1942. To lose 10 lives is a statistically predictable tragedy. To lose an entire family is the acceptable cost for the advance. Soviet mothers must be proud to give their sons to the motherland. The individual is irrelevant. The state is eternal. The perception of the Soviet High Command ignored the miracle unfolding in Brovaki. For them, the probability of 10 brothers returning alive from a war of this scale was mathematically 0. The project was not born in a military planning room, but in the forge and fields of Bravery. The father, Ivan Lysenko, a World War I veteran, had instilled in his sons the discipline of survival. Evdokia had taught them unity. Mikhail, the eldest, was a driver. Alexander, the youngest, was a young forge worker. Their experience was not military, but one of peasant resilience. The initial failure was not of the men, but of the logistics that separated them and subjected them to the worst. Dispersion. Each brother was assigned to a different front: reconnaissance infantry, tanks, communications, command. This logistical dispersion, ironically, ensured that the destruction of one unit did not mean the end of the family. Casualty report, reconnaissance unit, Kherson Front, clandestine excerpt, 1944. The Kherson Pocket consumed battalions. The mortality rate in direct combat is 1 to 3. Soldier Mikhail Lysenko, missing after an act of bravery, is presumed dead. His return is logistically impossible. The transformation of perception, the encounter in the trench. The first crack in the cold statistics of war came in a trench near Issy. Feodosi, going out for reconnaissance, unexpectedly stumbled upon Mikhail, returning wounded.
I was exhausted and hungry. I looked to the side and saw my brother, Mikhail. "Mikhail, is that you?" I shouted. The exhaustion disappeared instantly. We wept. This improbable encounter in the hell of the Eastern Front was a logistical miscalculation of the war. It was not Stalin's machine that brought them back. It was the stubbornness of blood. The war tried to devour them in Kherson, Treblinka, and Budapest. But one by one, 10 men began the statistically impossible journey home. The fate of Ukraine would be sealed on the front line. Evdokia's fate would be sealed at her front gate. 2. 10 fronts. Individual service under the hammer of war. Mikhail, infantry and the Korsun pocket. Combat on the Eastern Front was a brutal war of attrition where the infantry was ground daily. Mikhail Lysenko served as a reconnaissance soldier, the most dangerous front line, requiring stealth, tactical intelligence, and cold courage. His baptism of fire came in the inferno of the Korsun pocket, where the Red Army encircled and destroyed a massive German force. Mikhail's bravery stood out. He was decorated for setting fire to an enemy headquarters in a village, a high-risk act of sabotage. However, he was subsequently encircled and captured. The technical escape. For Mikhail, survival boiled down to instinctive disobedience. He managed to escape captivity, a rare feat that led to a long hospital recovery before returning to the front in 1944. Feodosi, the price of Budapest. His brother, Feodosi, also serving in reconnaissance, experienced the physical price of the war of attrition. He fought in a series of offensives to the heart of Hungary. Near Budapest, the luck that seemed to protect the Lysenkos temporarily failed. His reconnaissance team encountered a minefield. The explosion took his leg, ending his war abruptly, but guaranteeing his life. The physical absence of a limb was the material cost paid. To fate.
The unique officer. Vasily Lysenko was the only one of the 10 brothers to rise in the military hierarchy, reaching the rank of senior lieutenant and commanding a rifle platoon. His role was one of direct leadership, making life-and-death decisions under fire. His journey was an uninterrupted line of battle from Ukraine to Budapest. The High Command recognized his value, decorating him with the prestigious Order of the Red Star for exceptional bravery and heroism. This medal, awarded for actions involving personal risk and commitment to the mission, highlighted Vasily's sacrifice. He was wounded 3 times in combat, always returning to the front after recovery. His technical service and leadership were a counterpoint to the mass of common soldiers. He represented the command commitment that Stalin so demanded. Ivan, from Cherkasy to Treblinka. Ivan Lysenko fought in the defense of crucial cities like Kyiv. Like many Soviet soldiers encircled by German advances, he was captured. His fate was the darkest possible. He was sent to the Treblinka concentration camp, one of the Nazi extermination centers. The simple fact that he survived arrival and managed to escape Treblinka is a testament to an iron will that few prisoners possessed. Ivan's journey ended only in Romania, where he was honored with the For Courage Medal.
The emergency captivity. His brothers, Andrei and Pavel, faced a different captivity, being taken to Germany for forced labor. They were labor resources for the Reich, subjected to exhaustion and hunger, but outside the direct gas extermination system. Again, the Ukrainian survival instinct overcame German logistics. Andrei escaped after a month and returned to the front line. Pavel was liberated by the First Ukrainian Front and, instead of going home, chose to continue fighting with the Soviet forces advancing west. Communication under fire. The youngest of the brothers, Alexander, served as a signalman, the invisible link of communication in battle. His job required cold courage to repair cut lines under artillery fire, a continuous and silent risk. His decoration with the For Courage Medal came from his efforts to maintain active communication amidst fierce combat. His service ended at the symbolic peak of the war. Alexander was the only Lysenko to record his presence at the Reichstag in Berlin, the final trophy of the Soviet victory. The baptism of fire and ice. Stepan Lysenko served in one of the war's most lethal yet vulnerable weapons, tank operation. Near Smolensk, his tank was hit and consumed by flames. Stepan survived, but suffered severe burns, carrying the visible scars of combat. After recovering in East Prussia, he was transferred to Manchuria for the offensive against Japan, a journey that would make him the last to return home.
3. The hero mother, the statistically impossible return, the weight and the hardship. During the nearly 4 years of war, Yevdokia Danilovna Lysenko endured an unbearable burden: the German occupation of Bravery and the absence of 10 sons on the front line. Having lost her husband in 1933, she was the sole anchor for her offspring, which also included 5 daughters. Her struggle was that of millions of Soviet mothers: daily survival, scarcity, the terror of the Wehrmacht, and worse, the uncertainty about 10 lives that could be extinguished at any moment in Smolensk, Kyiv, or Berlin. The only hope was stubbornness. The fragmented return. The return of the Lysenko brothers was a long, fragmented process, stretching until 1947. The last to arrive, Stepan, the burned tank operator, was the last. Transferred to Manchuria to fight against Japan, only returned home after the war's end in the Pacific. The unexpected visit, moving testimony. The niece, Yana Lysenko, recalled the final moment of the return. Pavel, the brother who had escaped forced labor, arrived at his mother's house. Yana Lysenko, intimate voice, family memory. Pavel knocked on the window. The house was full of military guests. My grandmother dismissed him with a gesture, thinking he was just another soldier. But then she looked closely, recognized her son's face, and began to cry. The war had separated them for almost 7 years. They returned worn, exhausted, and, in 5 cases, physically impaired. Feodosi had lost a leg. Mikhail and Vasily carried severe bullet and shrapnel wounds. The joy of return was inseparable from the pain and the physical cost.
The socio-political context. Yevdokia Danilovna's story soon reached Kyiv and Moscow. In 1946, Yevdokia was honored with the Order of the Hero Mother, Mat Giroinya, the highest Soviet honorary title for mothers with large families. The title, established in 1944 by a decree of the Presidium of the Supreme Soviet, had a dual political objective. 1. Reward, to honor the mothers who had sacrificed or almost sacrificed their children in the Great Patriotic War. 2. Demographic incentive, to try to solve the catastrophic post-war demographic crisis by encouraging increased birth rates. The ceremony and the contradiction. Yevdokia traveled to Kyiv to receive the Gold Star before a crowd. Her granddaughter recalled that the matriarch was so emotional that she could barely speak. She only cried and wiped away tears with a handkerchief. However, the event revealed Stalin's bureaucratic coldness. Yevdokia was honored for her 10 sons, the exact number required for the award, while her 5 daughters were ignored by the district officials. The award celebrated the production of soldiers, not motherhood in its totality. The recovery. After the return, Bravery witnessed a wave of marriages among the Lysenkos. Mikhails, Stepan, and Alexander brought new wives, and soon a new generation. Yevdokia Danilovna became the matriarch of an enormous family, with 36 grandchildren and over 70 great-grandchildren. The cycle of life had defied and defeated the war machine of death. Yevdokia Danilovna passed away in 1967, a month before turning 74, having witnessed the return and recovery of all her sons. The eternalizing of memory. In 1984, the legacy of the Lysenko brothers was eternalized in Bravery with the inauguration of a bronze statue. 9 of the 10 brothers, Vasily had already passed away, were present to witness the tribute, a monument to their mother and the miracle of their survival. The monument, simple yet imposing, attests to the statistically impossible fact: 10 men in a war that consumed generations, all returning home. The story of the Lysenko brothers is more than a tale of military luck. It is the living negation of Stalin's mathematics,
a testament that amidst the brutality of the Great Patriotic War, the most indestructible force was the family bond. 10 men threw themselves against death on all fronts of battle, and they returned, not as invincible, but as scarred survivors. The miracle of Browacky is proof that even in the darkest statistics, the instinct to return can be stronger than the logic of war.